Hi, this is Nicole Austin with the Shawn Petite creative team, and I'm going to show you how to create this journal spread. First, I start off with the Dilutions black journal, and I'm just using these tree masks. They come with the stencil. I'm using them as a mask, and I just put them down with some temporary adhesive. And now I'm going with the Dilutions paint in red and just going around the page, and sometimes I will fold the page in half when the paint is still wet so that it'll transfer to the other side, kind of giving like a little butterfly effect. I'm using the orange and using it kind of as finger paint, so vary the marks a little bit. Use a sponge, makeup sponge, an applicator, your fingers, just spread that paint around. I'll start with the warm colors first and then wait for them to dry, and then start in with the cool colors so they don't mix. Here I'm just using the applicator to create some patterns and some contrast using the blue on top of the red. And then when that dries, going in with some green. And if you're impatient like me and you don't want to wait for the paint to dry, you can always just kind of put similar colors next to each other so they don't mix too much. But here pretty much it's dry, so it doesn't mix too badly. And now just adding some of the purple with my finger and then scratching into it, and also folding the page in half and getting some paint transfer to the other page. Also adding just a little bit of blue. I didn't go too crazy with the colors here, but I did sometimes lose some of the red, for example, so I had to come back in and add another layer. This paint works really well on the black background, it actually pops really nicely, but you might need to add just a little bit, maybe a double layer of the red. And now I'm just adding background stamps with black ink, and just using a script stamp and also some pattern stamps, and it's just nice to add variety to the background. And you want to make sure that when you stamp you go off the page and in all directions. Now I'm just taking a white Stabilo Mark-Sol pencil and scribbling words in the background. This is a water-soluble pencil, so just be careful not to go over it with any too wet of a medium. And now I'm just adding some red permanent spray ink. Just wanted to bring back some of that red that I had lost in the previous layer, and I do not like to wait for things to dry, so I often will just kind of dab with an extra scrap paper. And now I'm just adding some paint writers. This is white writing, like a paint puff pen, and I'll just add scribbles and again kind of press to get some of the color on both sides of the page. Now it's time, once everything is dry, remove the tree masks, and if there's a little bit of the temporary adhesive, you can just rub it away with your finger. So it's great about the temporary adhesive, and it doesn't leave the residue on your page, so they won't stick together. Just make sure you get it all off. And then I used some butterflies from the Vintage Butterfly Collage pack, and I cut them out. I made sure to leave a little bit of the border so you can see it pretty well on the busy background. And now I'm just cutting them in half, and my plan is to glue them right back in the middle and making sure that each butterfly half is on one half of the page. So here I'm just using a glue stick and just making sure that everything on the left is on the left side and everything on the right is on the right side, so that when you close the journal, they won't wrinkle up. And just pat everything down, and then you can go ahead and add in some words. And here I'm just adding words and hearts onto the butterflies, and then here I am just adding, I found a really large butterfly picture in a magazine, so I cut it out and I put it over on the left hand side, and then I used the cutout as a stencil. So on the right side I just did a mirror image, and I'm just adding the white Dilutions paint with a sponge and just kind of getting most of the inside. And then on the other side, just using that wing as a mask, so when I lift up you can still see the background. And I've also added just a little bit more white paint And then anywhere there is a black or dark area, I'm adding words with the white paint, and just spreading it around over the trees in the background. And then anywhere where there is white, such as the wings or the butterflies, I'm adding the black letters and hearts. And then on the other side, where it's sort of more dark and colorful, I've added the white words. Now I'm just outlining each wing on each side with a kind of a dark blue paint pen, just being really free and scribbly, just getting the outline and adding just a few little scribbles as I go, just to give it some character. And then going in with some more stamps, just to kind of make the wings feel like they're part of the background. And also stamping over the butterfly images as well. It's just a nice way to make sure that the butterflies don't feel like they're just slapped on the surface, that they're kind of blended in a little bit. Going in with the paint pen again, and just scribbling around the words now, just to give a little bit of character and some interest. Going in with a light blue, adding little dots, scribbles, just going all around however I feel, whatever I feel like doing. A lot of times it's all about just spreading color around, so in the white wing it was getting a little bit too plain for my taste, so I decided to add a little bit of color with the dark blue, the light blue, and the red paint pens. And now, just to make the wings kind of stand out just a little bit more, I'm going to go around with a Stabilo Marks All pencil. It's water soluble, so when you add water with a water brush, you can wake up those lines really nicely. And here I'm just creating a little bit of a shadow as I go, and also giving it a little bit of a scribbly look as well. You can also add some drips just by holding the journal pages up and squeezing out some water, letting the drips drip down. And if it's not dark enough, you can kind of cheat a little bit and scribble with the pencil and then use the water to make it look like drips. Or you can also squeeze out the water and then trace it with the pencil as well. And just adding some paint splatters. In the end, I ended up using white and green, I think a little bit of blue and red as well, just to give it a little bit of kind of blending everything in. And then the last thing I did was just go back over the white painted words that I did with the stencil, and I'm just finishing it up with a little marker. And there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope you're inspired to make something of your own.